The Secret of the Hidden Chest. High up in a remote mountain lived a shepherd with his 3 daughters. Their life was simple and quiet. They spent their days herding sheep, making cheese, and spinning wool. But the father harbored a secret he had never shared with his daughters. One day, while the girls were busy with their chores, the father quietly slipped out of the cottage. He walked far into the rocky hills until he reached a hidden chest nestled between the stones. With cautious hands, he opened the box and pulled out a small pouch. Looking around anxiously, he slowly untied it. His eyes gleamed at the sight of what lay within, precious gemstones and glittering jewelry. He sighed deeply and whispered to himself, "Ah, my blind friend, I have kept your secret all these years." Suddenly, a voice startled him from behind. He turned quickly to find his eldest daughter staring at him, confused and curious. "Father," she asked, "what is this you're hiding, and who is your blind friend?" The father hesitated, then sighed. "Come, my daughter, it's time you knew the truth. Call your sisters. This is a story you must all hear." The 3 daughters sat around their father, eyes wide with anticipation. "Years ago, I was tending my sheep in these very mountains when I came across a blind man stumbling through the rough terrain. He carried a box and looked exhausted. I helped him rest, and he told me he was once a wealthy jeweler. He had been attacked by bandits who took everything, leaving him blind and with only a small part of his fortune. He feared he could no longer protect it and begged me to hide the box for him, to keep it safe until he could return for it. I promised him I would guard it with my life. I kept that promise, never touching the treasure, only checking now and then to ensure it was still there. I told no one, not even you, my daughters, for fear that it might tempt your hearts." The daughters looked at one another, stunned. The youngest finally asked, "But father, why didn't you ever tell us?" "I feared greed might find its way into your hearts, and I couldn't bear that," he replied quietly. Some time later, while tending his sheep, the blind man returned to claim his trust. The shepherd led him to the hidden place, but the chest was gone. Panic filled the shepherd's heart. How could it be gone? Did someone steal it? Or have I forgotten where I placed it after all these years? The blind man grew angry. "Where is the chest? Did you deceive me, shepherd?" With trembling voice, the father replied, "No, I swear, I never touched it. It was always here." They searched the area, but the box had vanished. The shepherd said, "Only my daughters and I knew of this place. No one else could have taken it." The blind man did not believe him and went to the nearest village to bring the matter before a judge. The judge summoned the shepherd and listened to both sides of the story. Then he turned to the shepherd. "Even if you speak the truth, you still owe this man his trust. I sentence you to 1 month in prison. If the chest is not found by then, you shall serve 7 years." When the shepherd's daughters heard what had happened, they decided to plead with the blind man for mercy. He agreed on one condition. "I will forgive your father if one of you agrees to marry me." The daughters were shocked. "Marry you?" the eldest asked. "We don't even know you." "That is my only condition," the man said coldly. "Either one of you marries me or your father remains in prison." Heartbroken, the girls returned home. The next day, the eldest and middle daughters visited their father in prison, but the youngest refused to join them. Her sisters didn't understand why. When they told their father what the blind man had demanded, he grew angry. "How dare he? Once he was a man of honor. Now he's become twisted by bitterness." "Don't worry, father," they told him. "We'll find another way." "Promise me," he said, his voice heavy with sorrow, "you won't marry that man for my sake. I'd rather spend my life in prison." The girls nodded. As they left, the father asked, "Why didn't your sister come with you?" "She wouldn't say," replied the eldest, "but she looked troubled. Tell her I love her very much." Back home, the two sisters discussed what to do. "We can't leave father in jail," said the eldest, "but we can't marry a stranger, a blind man much older than us." The middle sister said nothing, lost in her own thoughts. Their silence grew suspicious. The older sisters began to wonder. Was it their youngest sister who had stolen the chest? She hadn't visited their father or shared an opinion. When they asked her directly, she simply replied, "I have nothing to say." The eldest sighed. "God willing, the truth will come out." As the month passed with no solution, the eldest daughter made a difficult decision. She would sacrifice herself and agree to marry the blind man to save her father. She told him during a prison visit. But the shepherd refused. "Don't do this, my child. Wait. God will provide a way. He knows I'm innocent." Her father's words stirred hope in her heart. She returned home with renewed faith. The day of judgment arrived. The girls went to the courtroom. Her father stood in the defendant's box. The blind man sat smugly, waiting. Oddly, he seemed to glance their way, as if he could see, though he was supposedly blind. Soon the judge entered and began the session. "Do you have anything new to say?" he asked the shepherd. "Yes, Your Honor. There's more I never told, not even my daughters. I was ashamed." He told the full story, how once he had lost all his sheep to wolves, and how a kind man, this same blind man, before he lost his sight, had offered him new sheep. The shepherd had refused at first, not wanting charity, but in the end accepted for the sake of his daughters. He never told them, fearing they would lose their dignity. Now the same man had returned, not as a savior, but as an accuser. Yet the shepherd swore he had never betrayed his trust. The judge was moved, but said, "There is still no proof, unless someone else knew the chest's location." "Only my daughters," the shepherd said, "but I raised them to fear God. I trust them with my life." Just then the courtroom doors burst open. A young man strode in, holding the very chest in his arms. "This," he said, placing it before the judge, "is the missing box." Gasps filled the room. The judge stared at the young man. "Who are you?" "My name is Naim. I am the son of the blind man." "Then is this your father?" "No, Your Honor. That man is my uncle, my father's twin. He can see perfectly. He's no blind man." Shock rippled through the courtroom. Naim explained. His real father had died a month earlier, and before passing had told him everything about the shepherd and the box. Naim had overheard his uncle plotting to take the chest for himself and impersonate the blind man. He even locked Naim in a room to stop him from revealing the truth. But one of the household servants saw the uncle bury the chest in the garden and helped Naim escape. He rushed to court with the box to clear the shepherd's name. The judge wasted no time. He ordered the arrest of the deceitful uncle, who was sentenced to 10 years in prison for fraud, impersonation, theft, and false accusation. Then he turned to the shepherd. "You are free. You have kept your trust. You are innocent." Joy erupted. The daughters rushed to embrace their father. The shepherd thanked Naim. "Forgive me for doubting your father." "There's nothing to forgive," Naim said. "You did what any honorable man would do." Finally, the shepherd turned to his youngest daughter. "Why did you not visit me?" "I couldn't bear to see you like that, father. I was so heartbroken, I couldn't even speak." Her sisters embraced her, apologizing for ever doubting her. The young girl, wise beyond her years, forgave them with a warm heart. The family returned home grateful beyond words. Naim gifted the shepherd a generous reward for his honesty. Life went on, better than before. As they sat together, the shepherd said, "We've learned a valuable lesson." "What is it, father?" the girls asked. "Never assume the worst about anyone without clear proof. As the Almighty says, "Indeed, some suspicion is sin."